Welcome to Orlando Matters on a Saturday morning. Today we have a number of topics. One thing we're talking about is the year of the hack. Millions of Americans have had their personal information stolen over the past 12 months, and experts say it's only going to get worse. So the big question for a lot of people, how do we deal with the lack of security, or is this a situation we're going to be living with for the rest of our lives and our kids' lives? Welcome back to Orlando Matters on a Saturday morning. We're going to talk tech right now. Got a news alert. The FBI investigating a massive data breach within the U.S. government, and this affects millions of workers. The hack targeted the Human Resources Department of the federal government. Fox's Jackie Ibanez has that story.
A massive data breach within the U.S. government could affect as many as 4 million federal workers. That's according to the Obama administration, which confirmed the hack Thursday.
The thing that struck me in the initial reports about this particular breach is that they called it one of the largest breaches. I mean, that's terrifying. If this isn't the largest breach, that tells us that we are very vulnerable to these kinds of attacks.
The breach, which is believed to have been carried out by hackers based in China, targeted the Office of Personnel Management, but other federal agencies are likely affected. Reports indicate that names, addresses, and Social Security information were compromised. And analysts claim that's just the tip of the iceberg.
You can just imagine what they would do with this kind of information. I mean, it's basically a roadmap for how to blackmail the people in the U.S. government with the highest security clearances. You go to them, you know what their weaknesses are, you know all sorts of intimate details about them, about their career, about their life. It is a huge concern.
Meantime, a spokesman for the Chinese embassy in Washington responding to accusations that his country is behind the breach, saying, quote, "Jumping to conclusions and making hypothetical accusations is not responsible and counterproductive." Regardless, some say the U.S. still needs to send China a strong message.
I think we need to do to China in kind with the proviso, not starting a cyber war, but saying this is deterrence.
Affected workers are being offered credit monitoring and identity theft insurance while the FBI investigates the breach. Jackie Ibanez, Fox News.
And joining me now to discuss the year of the hack is Tom Jelneck of On Target Web Solutions, and also Josh Murdock, Associate Professor at Valencia College. Guys, good to see you. Always appreciate you guys being here. And appreciate you coming in. Okay, you just saw that story. First thing that struck me was, you know, them saying, well, the U.S. needs to do this. The U.S. is doing this too, aren't they, guys?
Yeah, there's rooms and banks and computers all over the place of us trying to, you know, look at other governments and what they're up to as well. So, you know, we've got to be smart about it ourselves.
Yeah, and Tom, we've talked numerous times about this. I want to get your input. You see a story like that. Where do we go from here? Are we going to live with this for the rest of our lives, always constantly trying to protect our personal information?
I really think so. I mean, cybersecurity is a huge market now. You're seeing tons of colleges offer cybersecurity programs, trying to get people trained and ready to work in businesses, to work in banks, to work in government. All these areas are really needing to beef up this because that's the world we live in. Everything's digital.
And what worries you the most about this? Seeing stories. I mean, this was the U.S. government that got hacked here, right? They have the best cybersecurity on the planet. They get hacked. What worries you about that?
You know what truly worries me, keeps me up, is the economy of the United States. You know, worrying about the bit of instability we've had in the past, and so a hack could bring down so much. You know, our infrastructure. I worry about power grids. I worry about, you know, keeping all of that stuff safe. One interruption could cause such a trickle-down effect that it blows my mind to think what could happen.
You're right. We're worried about our credit card information, our Social Security numbers, and yet one person takes down a nuclear power plant, and then you've got a real issue there.
Absolutely.
What other areas stick out to you where you're like, man, people aren't even talking about this right now?
I mean, think of the Internet of Things. Everything is starting to be connected in your house. So everything from your air conditioning to your refrigerator to your TV, all these things are connected to the Internet. Now, is there, possibility of things happening to this, people gaining control of it, gaining control of entire systems, and changing the way they live? Those are all things to worry about. But I think key, like Tom said, big things, infrastructure. Imagine if someone, hacked into some of these different environments, what would happen?
In America, and I've used this analogy numerous times, we get so used to a 30-minute resolution. And I mean that by, in every sitcom, you have an issue, you have these struggles, and then at the end, everything's okay, right? Sure. And everybody goes home happy. It's the same in movies. You got a 2-hour resolution there. So we expect a quick resolution. When it comes to this, though, Is there a resolution? Or do we just continue trying to come up with new things all the time to combat the bad guys who are on the other side of this?
It's always being a step ahead of the bad guys. And that's a terrifying thing.
It really is. Because we think, oh, wow, if we could just get to the year 2016, there's going to be a solution, we'll be good. There's not going to be anything like that, is there?
No, because things are changing every day. Programming languages change. The way we wire things changes, and we're always doing it to try to stay a step ahead. But, you know, certainly there's a lot smarter guys out there that are staying a step ahead of our steps, and that's really the terrifying thing. So it's going to be an ongoing issue.
I know you do some programming. Do you program as well? Do you
I dabble a little.
Okay, so but you guys are very familiar with how it works. Is there a program down the road that's going to clean all this up, or no? Does somebody come up with a new language, a new program that says, oh, now we're all encrypted, nothing more to worry about? That's never going to happen.
That's the next step. Someone moves on to figure out how they can hack that or how they can get into that. And then that's the whole process of it. You know, a lot of people think hackers is the bad terminology, but if you think about it, hackers also are good because a lot of hackers are testing systems. People pay. Companies pay for people to try to hack into their system that they know to see how it works. What flaws are there? What security things can they change? What needs to be updated? So that's always changing, and I think you're always going to have someone going after, you know, the next thing, the next whatever it is.
And a great example is Apple, right? So Apple comes out with this operating system that everyone determines to be unhackable. Well, that's not true either, is it? So we saw these celebrities last year get hacked, all of their personal photos getting jacked from the cloud. So, you know, nothing is hack-proof.
I interviewed a white hat hacker one time, the good guy hacker, in case you haven't heard that term before. And we went to a coffee shop in a town that I was living in, and he said, watch what I can do right here. And with just his computer, he had everybody around us. He was showing me what these people in this room were doing up in an apartment nearby. He says, that guy right over there. And he can just show you everything. We need more of those guys, and maybe that's what you're talking about, training people. We really have to train the young people to say, this is serious, and we all have to take more responsibility too, don't we?
Yeah, and I think that's the real step up of, you know, college programs and other programs looking at cybersecurity and taking it so seriously and getting people trained in that area to become those, like, hackers that are out there to do good, to figure out how to help companies get better security, better, you know, things that are put into place, security measures. And the great thing about it is they're working with so many different people all over the U.S. to really make sure that's stepped up.
I want to hear what you guys are doing to protect your own information. We're going to have to take a break here very quickly, but do you log on to community Wi-Fi's whenever you go out?
I think some of the basic things, yeah, I do, because that's, you know, my world. I'm into social media. I'm into here and now. But
you're not worried about the creepy guy sitting in Starbucks looking at what you are. Do you log on to social networks?
You know, I do, and every time I do it, I get this feeling inside of, oh my God, I'm vulnerable. You know, so I'm real cautious about what I'm doing while I'm at Starbucks.
Because I've heard the open Wi-Fi's. I mean, these guys just target those open Wi-Fi's for people like me.
And I think it's so smart to be able to really think about that and watch out, because you see something that says free Wi-Fi, you just connect to that, and that's the silly thing people do. They don't know better, and sometimes you just have to be smart about, well, this network doesn't look secure, or maybe there isn't a login once you get onto it as well.
All right, well, I'll tell you why I stopped logging onto those sites in just a second. We got to take a break. We're going to talk more about the year of the hack straight ahead right here on Orlando Matters. Welcome back to Orlando Matters. Today we're talking about hacking and keeping your personal information safe. We have Tom Jelneck from On Target Web Solutions and Josh Murdock, Associate Professor at Valencia College. I said the reason I don't log on to those open Wi-Fi's anymore is a station I was at. Found one of these guys, he was a bad guy, just set up his own Wi-Fi, and people are like, hey, great, there's Wi-Fi I can get on, and he pillaged information right and left. Are we too trusting?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're sitting at a Starbucks taking care of your bank account, you know, and transferring funds and logging into your checking and savings or whatever, you're way too trusting of what's going on, because that stuff is so easily intercepted. it would really frighten you.
What about online banking in general? Some people are getting skeptical of that because of things we're seeing. Is that a thing? I mean, do you guys like to do that? Does it concern you at all or no?
I think online banking is a necessity anymore.
It kind of is.
I think it's part of your life, so it's kind of hard to go away with that. I think banks are doing a really good job of anytime there's kind of a breach or suspicious activity in that, they're changing your bank card. They're giving you new information, and they're probably the step above, like security-wise, of how you get into the account and access it and things like that, where they're doing multiple verification. A big one coming out is two-step verification. You know, a lot of people are switching over to that, where it's not you can just log on to a password and remember a password. They're actually sending you a text message where you're doing a code in as well.
We went to that at our station, and right here at Fox.
And it's very smart.
Yeah, it is, and it makes everybody feel a little bit more secure. What are you guys doing? I'm curious, because you guys are a step ahead of the rest of us. You're tech guys. What are you doing in particular in your life to make sure that it's just a little bit harder? Because I hear these bad guys want the easy, right? They're not going to go through a lot of steps when it's so easy to get the ones that aren't two-step verification.
So I've learned the hard way, much like yourself. I had a whole bunch of my websites get hacked, and they put in all kinds of nasty stuff. And the reason why is because I had weak passwords, right? I tell people all day long not to have weak passwords, and mine was way too weak. So I've learned a huge lesson about making very complicated, long passwords. Yes, it's a pain to remember, but I got to tell you, it's a complete necessity, because those thieves and crooks are just sitting there banging a whole bunch of combinations until they get the right one. When they get the right one, you're in trouble. And it trickles down. It's not just your bank account. You know, it's your Yahoo account or your Gmail account. A lot of them sniff around now, and they'll follow you on Facebook, right? And they'll watch some characteristics about who you are. Maybe you named your dog. Maybe you called out your dog's name on your Facebook post. They're paying attention to stuff that you're providing so that they can build a profile to ultimately use against you.
So you've increased your passwords.
Yeah, I've had to.
But how do you keep track of it? I think we did that. So I have 50-some passwords.
Yeah. Well, there's certain devices, and I know Josh uses a few.
Do you like those? That's how one-step password to get you into all your passwords. Do you like that?
They're kind of iffy, though. I mean, some of them recently have been hacked. LastPass has been hacked. I mean, and those kind of things you kind of really wonder about now. They say, you know, a certain level was hacked and not all your information. Everything's encrypted as it goes back and forth. So you really have to start thinking about, you know, smart ways to remember things, just like you did in school to remember, you know, a formula or something like that, remembering your password. But the key is also changing it. A lot of people forget to change their password every so often. You know, a lot of businesses and especially institutions make you change it every 90 days or every 6 months or something like that. So you should think about that and not keep the same password forever, because you're going to run into trouble sometime or another. You're going to use that password for something else, and that system gets hacked, and they start just trickling down
and
other ones.
Right, there's 5 major banks, right? So then they try that same thing at all the major banks to see if they can get you.
Ding, they got you.
Exactly.
The other thing I do, John, that, you know, go to your neighborhood, try, you know, open your Wi-Fi and see how many wide open networks there are sitting right next door to you.
Yeah, there's a ton.
So I make certain that all of my Wi-Fi networks that I have in my house, my business, are locked down with encryption. So many people don't. So they'll have the cable company come out, give them a bright new shiny modem and a Wi-Fi connection, wide open. Anybody and their brother sitting next door, driving by, can just stop and start intercepting data.
What other things are you doing right now?
I think really starting to look at, you know, what you're doing online is a big thing. So, you know, a lot of people say, you know, do you use your social logins as part of your login, or do you create your own? I think it depends on the network you're on and environment you're in, but that's a big one. A lot of people like, no, don't use your social logins to log into other sites. A lot of people offer that as opportunity. You kind of have to wonder, you know, do you update your password enough on those, and do you change them out? Also, I think just going around and being safe when you use a credit card or things like that. I mean, that's the easiest way. It's the skimmers, right? The gas station and then have the skimmers.
We're running a commercial on some of our stations where the guy just walks by you, scans your body, and he gets your credit card information. There are wallets out there that they're selling, but you said even aluminum foil.
Yeah.
Wrap your credit cards in aluminum foil.
Yep. Or the other thing I heard is you could take all your cards, put them together, and stick them into one slot in your wallet, because it's hard to get a read on just one of the strips when they're all kind of together. But that's a real deal. You're right. People are walking behind you with these devices, jacking data right out of your wallet.
And it's not just computer stuff either, because I've told the story numerous times now. Somebody filed in my daughter's Social Security number for the IRS and my wife's, and so now we're going through the process. And once you've gone through it once, like you did with all your computers, you realize how serious this is, because you don't want to go through it each and every year.
Right.
So, we got about a minute and a half left. Any other ideas? What do you want people to know, being on the front lines of this?
There's also some different companies that are out there starting to do a lot. Here in Orlando, there's actually a company called iCloak, and they did a Kickstarter maybe 6 months to a year ago. They raised $100,000 for online privacy. And it's a simple USB stick that they've built with some key things that give you privacy. So you stick it in your computer, or if you're going to a library or something else, you're not using your own computer, or you're in that airport area where you're using an open Wi-Fi or Starbucks or something, you stick it in there, it actually creates its own network. It creates its own kind of program running in there, and it's locking out, and it's not giving them access to all your computer. It's giving them access to what's on there, which is nothing. It's really running a program, a web browser, some of the basic things. Wow. So some people are looking at that easy fix. People can do it on their own if they're have that technology knowledge, but some people want something that maybe is an easier fix. That they can go places.
And Tom, we'll have to leave it at that. Sure. All right. Hey, guys, always good to see you. What's your website in case people want to check you out?
On TargetWebSolutions.com.
And where can people find you?
ProfessorJosh.com is the easiest place.
ProfessorJosh.com. Guys, thanks so much. Always appreciate having you. All right, we'll be back to wrap up the show right after this.